Oh, hello. Didn't see you there. Was checking out this new Something Involving a Monkey little picture book, lyric book. They got canceled. I happen to have the drummer sitting right next to me. Scott, I'd like you to introduce yourself and tell me a little bit of why you guys got canceled.
I'm Scottie B, Something Involving a Monkey, and happy to be here with you, Vince. Thanks for having me on. And we got canceled because we deserved it, I think. But as you could see, we were just saying to everybody, the album is canceled. And as you could see,
right,
it's canceled, all right. That's the title.
So why did you decide to go for the one L instead of two L's? Did you guys talk about that?
Actually, that's the proper spelling.
Is it?
Yeah.
Because I've looked it up before, and it's like one of those things where it's like it may have been wrong, you know, but now it's just accepted that.
It's
or one's the British version.
Yeah, it's exactly right.
Yeah.
It's actual English and one's, but actually both are correct.
Right.
One L or two L's. So go figure. So English is a strange language, right?
Well, you know, just like the country itself, it's a melting pot.
Yeah.
You know, so, you know, and that's a whole nother thing, but, you know, languages evolve over time, you know. If you were to go back like 300 years and talk how you talk now, they'd probably think you sound like crazy, you know.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
You know, and that's why, you know, all these new words, and it's like, you know, yeah, for a while there, they were talking about Ebonics and everything. And, you know, obviously Ebonics did make its way. I mean, now everyone just uses woke, you know, and you go along with your canceled thing, you know. Everyone just uses
woke,
these languages.
Canceled, yeah.
Yeah, and you see, like, on major news networks, you know, they used to talk all proper, but now they're using, like, slang that you would have used, like, in the 90s, you know.
Right, yeah.
And it's just commonplace now. So that's the way language just evolves, I guess. But anyway, let's go into you, because that's what I like to do here. It's not about me. It's not about language. It's about you.
Well done.
Scott, how'd you get, like, all right, we're going to get into the whole monkey thing and the cancel thing, but let's just go all the way back and talk about how you got into music.
Well, I love music ever since I was a little kid, wanted to play an instrument, and gravitated over toward the drums, and I started taking some lessons when I was 10 with some jazz kid. His name was Chalmers Logan, and he was a bebop guy, and basically taught me all the basics, rudiments and stuff like that, and then really was a lot of jazz-based stuff that I really didn't know how to apply at the time.
Yeah.
But it was good foundational stuff because it teaches you the independence, four-limb independence kind of thing. And
so you just started playing drums. I mean, you weren't like necessarily into a style of music, or you just?
I always listened to rock. You know?
Yeah.
You know, grew up listening to the Beatles and Creedence and Jimi Hendrix and stuff like that.
Right.
Those are some of the records my mom had, and started buying some stuff. I mean, when I was like 8, I bought Edgar Winter Group. They Only Come Out at Night. Ronnie Montrose was a guitar player on that. That song Frankenstein.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So I was, kind of into that kind of thing. And
okay.
So I was always kind of into some, harder rock music, and gravitated toward Led Zeppelin, and Rush was a new thing at the time, and then just kind of kept going, and I haven't stopped. I just keep going, looking for new music, and trying new stuff out, and it's funny, and most of my friends, they're all kind of stuck on the same thing, and it's not that I don't like any of that stuff or got bored with it. I just kept moving on, and
well, that's the thing with me too. It's like I'm always looking for something new. So like, people are like, I don't know. It just seems like some friends you get in their car and they're listening to the same thing they were like, you know, when they were
Yeah, 1978. Yeah,
you know,
still listening to Freebird. And
right?
that,
Yeah,
you know, it's just like,
and I'm just like, I'll just say, you know, I don't want to say it, but I'll tell my AI music thing in the house because it'll go off right now if I say it. But I'll just say play something new, you know, or play this style new, or I'll listen to a style of music I never listened to before, just because I don't know, I can't, man. Once I, you know. You get into an album, you keep listening to it, but then it's like you move on. It's like women, you know. It's just no. I'm kidding. But no, yeah. I just always looking for something new and creative, you know.
Sure.
But so when you were gosh, how old when you started playing drums again?
I started playing when I was 10.
Oh, okay.
Probably couldn't do much with it till I was around 14, 15, you know.
And then what happened then?
Well, just, you know, I was playing in the bands in high school and that, and ended up in this show choir thing. I was playing drums. It was just a small ensemble with a bass guitarist and a keyboardist and me playing drums and someone playing guitar.
Okay.
And we were just kind of backing them. And as it turned out, this girl and the bass player, they were pretty good friends, Colette and Julie, and she's like, hey, my friend's getting married, and I'm putting a band together. We're going to play her wedding.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay. And she had a boyfriend who was a bit older, Mark. Yeah. And so we put this band together with his buddy who played guitarist. And he was studying at the Conservatory of Cincinnati as a classical guitar.
Right.
He was learning classical guitar performance, and he was a fantastic player.
Yeah.
And anyway, so we put this thing together, and we played this wedding, and, you know, it was a lot of music to learn, so it was a pretty tough project to learn all this stuff. And so it's like we did that, and it all went well. And
now, where was this at, though? Where was this? Was it around Greater Cleveland? Or?
Yeah, here in Cleveland.
Yeah.
You know, I went to this school called Richmond Heights High School over there on the east side, and Mark and George had gone to Euclid.
Oh, okay.
And so, yeah, it was east side thing.
Mm-hmm.
The wedding was at this little Slovenian center down there in Euclid where they, you know, had this wedding reception. But after he went to college, went back to school, she was like, hey, you know, we should keep this going. We learned all this stuff. We ended up getting a gig at this little bar in Willowick. Mm-hmm. And so we played like 10 weeks there, 10 weekends, Friday, Saturday night. And, you know, that's really where I got started playing professionally. So I was 16 years old.
Oh, wow.
And my parents were pretty cool to let me do that. And
supportive parents, that's a common theme.
Yeah.
On a lot
especially
of people
when you're playing the drums, you know. I mean,
no, right?
Yeah,
it's a lot of money, and not just that, they got to deal with the noise, right?
The noise, yeah, bang, crash. You know, it's like like a Dr. Seuss thing, you know.
Right? Yeah. No, and that's cool. That's awesome. That, like I said, that is a common theme. Like a lot of the guys that that I consider really good players, like have a support system around them. You know, obviously parents. You know,
sure,
that's pretty cool.
Yeah, that's where it started. And
yeah.
So we did that and kind of kept that going through high school, playing covers and stuff like that. So I was really fortunate, playing with older people like that. They really taught me a lot, and a lot of practical knowledge and things like that you would never know as a kid.
How much older were they? Yeah.
4 years older.
All right. Yeah, that back then, that's a big deal. You know?
Yeah,
now
so
it's not so much.
Yeah, like I started out it's like the boy wonder. You know, I was always the youngest in about everything I did for years. You know, and working with people like that, they teach you things, just little things. Like one night we were playing a show, and Colette was really screwing up this bunch of shit, and so we're. Band meeting, we're all out in a car, in between the sets, and she's like, I don't know why you're making such a big deal about it. It's just a room full of drunks anyway. And he said, I'll never forget this. He said, you never ever know who's sitting out there watching you.
Yeah.
So you go out and you play the best you can play, no matter what the situation is. Don't ever come with that crap.
Right.
You know, and it's like, it was one of those things. It wasn't me screwing up, but it made me think. It's like, yeah, you know, you got to up your game. You don't know who's sitting out there. And, you know, there might be somebody out there that ain't wasted that knows that you suck.
Yeah. Right.
You know, so yeah, that was like some really good advice. You know, just things like that. And you know,
just always play your best potential. You know what I mean?
For sure.
You know, just
And
so how long did that, like, were you doing that for a while?
Yeah, I went on, you know, through high school, and actually Mark was a pretty good songwriter, and he had written a lot of stuff, and we started, you know, tinkering around with it, and that's when we started working on original stuff. That's when it just kind of went for me. I was just like, man, that's all I want to do. I don't. It's like, man, I love this music that we're playing, but I can't play rock and roll on the drums any better than John Bonham did, or whatever, insert whoever. You know, that was, so it was just like, you know, trying to find your own sound at that point. And it's, so that was like 18, 19, and really started focusing on, you know, what I want to sound like.
So before that, you guys were just doing like cover songs and stuff?
Yeah.
Like what kind of?
Well, they could do these great 3-part harmonies, so we did a lot of Fleetwood Mac stuff.
Oh, nice.
You know, and a lot of Beatles stuff too. Same thing. You know, you got 2 female voices and a male voice, and, you know, it was, so we did a lot. I mean, you name it, Doors, Rolling Stones, I mean, you know, try to cover some things that were a little different. You know, we used to play Tumbling Dice. You know, it was a good Rolling Stone song. It wasn't the real obvious stuff. You know, but you know, it was. Hey, you got to learn playing other people's stuff.
Sure.
You know, it's
I mean, I think you almost always start learning somebody else's song just to get like a basis. You know.
Sure.
But, you know, and then just learning all the different, especially like Fleetwood Mac, you know, I mean, that's a pretty talented band. So, I mean, learning from that kind of stuff. And it was unique, too. It's not just regular, you know, you listen to a Fleetwood Mac song, it's not just, you know, basic, you know, he's doing some interesting things on the drum there, you know.
Yeah, they're very good
Lindsey
players.
Buckingham. And
God, I love that guy's finger picking style. It's just incredible. You know?
So you guys ended up, so then you said like about 18, 19, whatever, then you started doing, like, was it the same band that you started doing original music with?
Well, it was Mark and Colette and I, and we had kind of had a revolving door of, you know, whether it would be a guitar player. George would come back for the summer and he'd play with us. And, you know, this other guy played keys with us a little bit. And
what was the name of this band?
That band was called The Particles.
The Particles. Okay. Now, did you guys put anything out or anything?
No, we did a video shoot like at Viacom. That was about the gist of that. What that ended up doing.
What do you mean at Viacom? What, the cable company?
Yeah. They had like some local shows. Some guy had a local show, and he used to bring bands in there.
Really? What was the name of the show?
I can't even remember.
I'm putting you on the spot now.
Yeah, honestly, I can't remember. And the funny thing is, I have the videotapes, but I got nothing to play them on.
Right. Yeah.
You know, so
that's cool.
It's pretty. You know, it was interesting, but we had done a demo. You know, it was about as far as it got, but yeah, but
did you record the demo in the Viacom studio, or was
we actually kind of self-produced that.
Okay,
you know, with we had a mic line mixer and a Fostex 4-tracker.
Yeah, I know those.
Yeah, that was the idea, was to try to get some interest in it, but yeah, and that just kind of fell apart. Mark wasn't real ambitious about getting out there and playing, and it actually is where kind of the reason why I started auditioning for stuff. I was just getting kind of bored because he was a little bit of a perfectionist. You know, it's like, we're not quite ready, and you know, the sad truth is that if you wait till you're ready, you'll never do it because you're always a work in progress.
Absolutely.
I mean, no matter what.
That's for sure.
I mean, I'm still at this stage of the game, still learning new things, still dabbling, and still, you know, moving forward.
I don't think there's a point in doing it if you're not.
Exactly. I mean, if you're just going to stay, I'm good enough. It's like, That's pretty lame.
Right.
But it's sadly that kind of motivated me to like start auditioning and looking around. It was like I was kind of getting bored.
Yeah.
And over a year or so time, I must have auditioned for 30 bands.
Really?
Yeah. Couldn't really find anything that I liked, and what I really wanted probably to do was something more progressive rock or jazz fusion oriented, and that really wasn't happening here in this town at the time.
Okay.
Yeah, it's like mid '80s.
Okay. What was going on? What was everyone?
Well, everything was really going digital at that point in time, where there was a lot of drum machine kind of stuff.
Sure.
Most of the popular music was all digital drums, and so that kind of didn't.
That was like the Trent Reznor kind of.
Yeah, actually, his first band was the Exotic Birds.
Right.
In fact, I even studied with that one guy that played in that group, Tim Adams, down at the Institute of Music. They were grad students down there, and I used to take my younger brother there for piano lessons.
Okay.
I'd drive him down there, and so I'd hang out with these guys.
The Cleveland Institute of Music? Yeah.
So it was interesting because the stuff that we talked about, it's like he really got me going, like on practicing to metronome and really tightening up, and developing my internal clock. Because he's like, hey, he goes, you got your rudiments, and try doing this and that, and
right.
It was like, so then it was like. Back then, it was like, my Franz metronome, which is, the one with the dial on it and the light on the top.
Yeah.
And, you can't play a drum kit. You'll never hear the thing,
Right.
So it's like a lot of it was mostly pad work, that you would do. And,
right.
And I developed a lot of my hand strength and speed practicing on pillows. And I used to like to sit in the dark, with just the light going.
Yeah.
To the metronome, and I'd practice on the pillow.
Okay.
And develop, double stroke rolls and things like that, and it helps build up your hand strength and your wrists and all that, because you don't have any, you don't have any rebound off of a hard surface. The pillow forces you to lift the stick, and
right,
so it was stuff like that I was doing,
nice.
To develop my, my skill and my internal clock, which is what you had to do. Really, I mean, that was the whole idea, to be a live player. You develop your internal clock and be really solid, because there isn't a click track going.
Well, yeah.
But now, you got one. You got one on your phone and they're great. It's the stuff available today is just so much better.
Yeah, if there's any piece of advice, is when I started playing a lot better when I started playing to a metronome. It's like before that you think, oh, that's silly. I'm going to play it my own, whatever. I know what I'm doing.
Yeah, right.
But you don't, and once you learn the metronome, then you don't have to use it,
Sure.
But it sure is nice. It gets you tight,
Oh, for sure.
Yeah. So all right. So you're shopping yourself around. You got audition for 30 bands. You didn't find anything. You've been playing with these guys the whole time while you're doing that?
Yeah, doing that. And, and at one point, how you're like, everything was like in the Scene magazine. It's pretty much where I was looking for, and, when something new would pop up, you'd notice it because you had your nose in it every week,
Right.
And this one day I'm looking through there, and there's this ad, and it said something like, drummer wanted, must have reliable transportation, equipment, and speed. And I'm like, what? So I call this ad. I'm like, okay. Yeah, I was just checking out your ad. Got a question. I'm like, when you say speed, do you mean speed in transportation, speed in playing, or drugs? What are we talking about here? The guy just starts laughing. And it's like, well, it's like, if you're interested, come on down, and I'll give you a tape. And he lived over in Cleveland off of 185th over that way.
Okay.
I lived right around the corner, and I was living on Waterloo Road, actually right across from where Beachland is. I used to live right across the street there. It was the old Croatian home. It's what that was before it turned into that venue. I lived down there, 86 to 89 back then was the time frame, and it turned out that this was this kind of a, I guess I could call them hardcore by these standards band, punk band, and they were going as DWI, and I ended up auditioning with them, and they're like, yeah, we got this show at the Fantasy nightclub in 2 weeks. You want to do it? It's like, yeah. So I ended up doing the show, and and it was a spot they had opening for Death of Samantha. If you remember that band, it was John Pekovic's band. You know him? Because he wrote for writes for the PD Entertainment writer.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah. What was the other band? Cobra Verde, I think was his. Or anyway, Doug Gillard was in that band, and Dave Swanson, and Dave Swanson had I think St. Valentine's Records was his label. That's nice. Back then. So we opened for those guys, and it's funny. I remember the show so well because they were doing a tribute to Elvis, and they brought this coffin. And they set this coffin up in front of the stage, and they brought it out, and Pekovic's in it, and it opens up, and he comes out, and they started playing their show, and it was just kind of like, it was hilarious watching them drag that friggin' coffin up those steps at the Fantasy. It's
boat.
Way up. So, man, the things you'll do for a laugh, I guess. But that was like my first, foray in the, kind of the alternative scene, or whatever you would call it at that point. And as it turns out, the bass player in that band was a young woman named Ray Martello, who was in the Vivians with Michelle and Diane Duncan, Michelle Temple, Diane Duncan, and they were looking for a drummer, and that's how I ended up getting into the Vivians. So that was the connection there. So,
and then so the Vivians, what's going on with those guys?
Vivian. Well, nowadays, that band's been defunct for a while. But that was 1987. Band formed, and
what kind of music was that?
It was all original stuff. They called it post-punk, but it was like, it just means you just can't put a label on it.
Right. So I don't know, I think of like Sonic Youth or something, if you were to say like
guitar-wise similar to that. But we had a clarinet. She played clarinet in it, so female vocals with Michelle sang back up too.
With female members in the band, it was like your other band and then this one. How do you do that? Because I've always found guys to play with. I've never found. You found all the women.
There's always been women in bands, though.
I know. Yeah, but I just never run into them.
I can't say as to why that was. It wasn't like something deliberate,
right?
But as far as the musicianship and that, Michelle Temple is just world-class player. And it was a great opportunity to play with her. She's a great songwriter too. And,
how long were you playing with those guys?
I was with them for 5 years. I did the bulk of the recordings. Steve Melman replaced me in '92 when I left.
What was the reason for you leaving?
Just kind of, my wife was pregnant with Lindsay, and it was just kind of a convenient time to take a break. I was getting a little burnt, and quite frankly, I was a little discouraged at that point. We've been really working hard, doing a lot of traveling, a lot of road trips, and
how far were you doing, like far ones or just regional?
We'd go East Coast, very regular. 5-6 times a year, we'd go up and down the East Coast. New York City, we'd go Chicago. As far as Minneapolis, we went. Richmond, Virginia, down that way. Knoxville, about any point in between here.
Right.
Anywhere. A lot of college stuff back then.
Sure.
College towns were always doing stuff, especially on weekends, student unions.
Yeah.
But yeah, pretty much we did a lot of traveling. I bought this 78 GMC Duravan, and I must have done a half a dozen tune-ups on that thing. You got about 25, 30K out of a tune-up back then, you know, and we traveled all over in that thing.
Yeah.
I bought that thing. It had about 65K on it. And when I quit, I handed them the keys and signed it over to them. Like, here you go.
Yeah.
It had like 190 on it.
Oh, wow.
And it was like, we definitely put some miles on that sucker.
That's cool, man.
Yeah. But, yeah, those were some good times.
Now,
you know, but,
were you guys like signed to a label, or was this just all indie stuff?
well, it's interesting. You know, you're going there, and it's like, back then, that's where things haven't changed much. You know, major labels just really didn't give Cleveland a whole heck of a lot of support or love, as you would call it. And so there were a lot of small labels. You had Scat Records, and like I mentioned, St. Valentine's Day Records was that other label, another local Cleveland indie label.
Yeah.
And we had Hit and Run Records, which was with Tommy Dark. I don't know if you're familiar with him. But the band at that time was Knife Dance, and we were label mates. And he also put out this band from the early 80s called the Easter Monkeys, which Charlie played Knife Dance and played in the Easter Monkeys with Jim Jones, who went on to play in Pere Ubu for many years.
Okay.
And we lost him quite a few years back. So we put those records out along with our own. We kind of were sharing expenses and all that, and so it was like, hey, we're doing our thing. So he basically started this Hit and Run Records, which he named after a single from a band Charlie was in called the Impalers back in the late 70s, and they had the single was Hit and Run.
Yeah.
And I make a point to say this because in the end of Hit and Run Records was a cease and desist letter from Phil Collins. It's
Really?
legal, yeah, because he had formed some hit and run production company or whatever.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and they trademarked it and cease and desist. So that was kind of the end of that. But he went on. He renamed the label Red Hour, which was actually. I think it was the name of the piece of art that was the cover of their second record, the Knife Dance's second record. This guy drew this thing, and it's basically like this man and then this wolf superimposed over, like so the red hour was the hour he was changing into a wolf. Yeah, the lycanthrope, you know. It's a really interesting cover, but that's where he named it, because he went on to do Stepsister was his band later on. He did a lot of that stuff with his brother, and Scott Silverman, another guitar player I played with at some point later on. But yeah, that was the thing about Cleveland, man. It was like everybody, that was really doing it and weren't getting any help, from, actual established labels. Were all, do it yourself, and
well, it's, I think it's that kind of stuff. It's definitely who you know, so you got to just go to where all the people are and bump elbows with them, so not too many execs are hanging out and
you kind of got to go to New York, and it's like we had an A&R guy come and see us in New York once when we were playing up there, and it's like, they didn't know what to do with it.
I guess unless you can do some kind of like following, get some kind of following or something, but it's like, it just seems like, once there's a buzz like in the scene, and it's like usually those scenes happen when everyone helps each other out. It's like all like an incestuous kind of thing, going on.
And
the Seattle thing,
that's a great example of that very thing, because that was going on here too. Because like Robert Griffin, he was helping us out with his scat records. He had a lot of connections with certain distributorships that he was dealing with, and he had no problem helping you out. It wasn't like, I'm not giving these guys my info, So there was a lot of that going on, but of course Seattle was, with Sub Pop and Touch and Go in Chicago was another one of those. And you had Amphetamine Reptile in Minneapolis, and they were doing, bands like Predated, Helmet, stuff like that. Those other trying to think of some of those bands back then.
Yeah.
But yeah, Touch and Go was a big one. I mean, they had Butthole Surfers and Jesus Lizard and Urge Overkill and bands like that. And you know, we opened for those guys.
Right.
You know, there were, you know, you'd be out on the road and you'd run into these bands. It's like, oh, hey, Jesus Lizard was here last night. You know, you walk in, there's a show bill or whatever. You know, they're all friends of ours, and you meet these people on the road, you know, doing this stuff, and that's what's interesting about doing it again now. It's the same kind of thing that way. It's, you know, you meet really interesting bands and that when you get around. And
well, yeah, I mean, that's one of the things, and well, that's what I had Mark Sobere on here not too long ago, and he has Rock and Roll City Studios, and it's like, gosh, I don't know, I met a lot of people like doing those musicians nights or just playing at Peabody's when they have like 97 bands on the bill, so you get to know like all these different bands. You know? But I always thought that was cool. It was cool just hanging out, and you know, and just meeting everyone, and you know, that's why I know a lot of the people I know now is just from playing music, and it's always people that play music, for the most part, if they stick with it, the ones that do stick with it, it seems they're genuinely good people, you know? I mean, I think it's because it's that whole expressing yourself, and then, like, you know, it kind of grounds you a little bit more, you know? I think there's a lot of people that don't have the ability to express themselves in some kind of artistic way, and, you know, I say this a lot, you know, and that's when they turn to, like, Xanax and anti-anxiety pills and stuff like that. You know? Yeah, right. Yeah. But okay, so you were playing. With. Gosh, so you quit that band. You were replaced. You had the kid. And see, I'm not even writing this stuff down, and I got it. So you had the kid. So you just took time off from music.
Yeah, actually, like I said, I was a little discouraged with it all. Actually, I was really bummed because like Touch and Go was interested in picking up our new album. Yeah. And at the last minute they decided they were going to do somebody else instead. Right. And then they had insult to injury. That band broke up like a month later. Right. Yeah. So it was like at the time, like there was a lot of things going on. Diane was she was actually living in Pittsburgh. And she was at Duquesne. She was trying to get her PhD. She was a philosopher, you know, and that, you know, well, what are you going to do if you're going to be a philosopher? You better become a tenured professor of philosophy, or you're going to be just teaching a lot of side job Bob, you know, philosophy 101 courses at like 8 different colleges, which is what she was doing when she was playing with us.
Right. That was my second major was philosophy. Yeah. I kind of got the base foundation. I was like, okay, now I know where to go, and then I was able to pick my own books. But I was like, that's all I needed it for, was to just get me started on some of the stuff, you know. But then I was like, what are you really gonna do with this? You think you're gonna save the world? I think is what it is, you know. But anyway, go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, that's true. I mean, what do you do with these things, you know? But so that was going on, and then like Michelle had gotten. You know, she was playing with Pere Ubu, so that was also going on. So it was like, it was kind of pulling apart a little bit, and I was just like, this is probably a good time for me to take a break for a little bit or whatever. And it was quite a big break, you know, because I remember playing the last show and dragging my stuff down the basement, and I stacked them in a corner, and they sat there for a year. Yeah, I didn't even pull them out of the cases. And but there was a lot going on too. You know, got a new kid in the house, and you know, it was a big change. And you know, so no, I don't regret the decision at all. You know, it was the right thing to do at that particular time. And
what are they doing now?
Well, Diane's been deceased for 12 years. She was 47. She died of liver failure.
Yikes.
Wasn't good. I mean, when I first met her, she was having some health issues, and I I would suspect she ended up getting mixed up with painkillers and whatnot.
Oh, is that right? Yeah.
Yeah, and I hadn't seen her in a while. Michelle, last time I talked to her, she was playing with Ubu, and they were here in town, and Joe and I went out to see them and talk with her and Dave, you know, and hadn't seen them in a while. And she was living in New York still, last I looked. But and then Ray Martello's still around town here, and the last time I saw her, her sister had passed away, and I went to the wake and so, you know, paid my respects, and that was 5 years ago. So I mean, still go out to shows and that, but that band wasn't gonna ever get back together.
No.
Yeah, and you know, and all those recordings, they're all analog. You know, it's not like there's no digital representation of them except for the few things that showed up on some of the local compilations, like Hotel Cleveland. They did. I've got that 10-inch. It's like a colored vinyl, and there's a couple Vivian. There's a Vivian song on there. And,
well, this is this is exactly why. You know, I'm doing this. You know, people are like, "Oh, you should go do this or do that." You know, you can get more views. I'm like, I don't know if I'm necessarily looking for viewers. I'm looking to document. You know what I mean? And it's like, and just for that same reason, there was like, you know, a few bands I was looking for, and I'm like, man, there's no digital. They're not in the digital world at all. You know what I mean? And it's like if nobody talks about it, they'll just be gone.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? So it's like, you know, here it is.
I don't know where the tapes are. I mean, if she would have the tapes, you know, the 2-inch masters.
Right.
And then where are you going to take it to get it digitized? I mean, you'd have to go someplace that would have, you know, those 2-inch machines. And I'm sure it's able to be done. But you'd also have to remix and master and remix.
Yeah, right.
I mean, if you have the tapes and they were sound. You know, because they're going to deteriorate. Right. It's another thing. I have no idea what became of the masters. So, you know, that's another thing. And that was all pressed.
Yeah.
So, you know, you'd have to have the acetate. You'd have to get a new acetate done. Yeah. You know, which is basically the stamp they use to make the mold for the vinyl pressings. Which is, I used to have one of them. I think the first record I had, which is it's like an aluminum cast. Yeah. You literally drop the needle and I go, yeah, it sounds good, okay. It's like, it doesn't work that way anymore.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah. I mean, gosh, all right. So you took the year off, and then you were like, you know, with my friend Cyril, you know, I remember, you know, I told him I was going to get back into a band or something. I was traveling for work and stuff for a while, and I was like, yeah, he's like, you must play, you know, he's got a French accent, you know, I don't know if you know Cougar, Cyril. Yeah. And that's the thing, you know, with him too.
Yeah, Axioma, right?
Axioma, yeah. And, you know, it's like, you know, that's the thing. It's just in you. You have to play, right? So is that similar, or what? Am I putting words in your mouth?
Yeah, no, I did eventually set the drums up, and, you know, my kids seemed interested, and I used to hop her up on my lap and put the sticks in her hand and go nuts, and she'd just sit there and laugh. It was hilarious. Yeah.
Right.
Do that, you know, you're holding their hands, and she's hitting them, and she's just laughing.
Oh, I'm sure.
It was just a hoot, you know.
Well, because they're so loud, I would imagine that, you know, to small teeny ears, you know, it's probably everything, you know, probably, you know.
So, yeah, and then, out of the blue, Michelle had called me, and she's like, hey, can I stop over? I got something I want to give you. And she came over, and she pulls out this single, and it was these two songs that I had recorded with them, Spades, Back with Meltdown. Those were two songs.
Okay.
And it came out on 45, and she's like, yeah, figured you should have these. She gave me a couple of them. But I also got a question. Yeah, Steve quit the band. We got a tour lined up. You know, would you be interested in doing it? So I was like, yeah, sure. Yeah. You know, so I did the tour, and that was another shot up, you know, East Coast, a couple of weeks. You know, some summer tour. It was pretty cool.
Nice.
So I did it, and it was just kind of, I didn't really want to get back into it at that level, and that was so I kind of bowed out after that. But interestingly, about 6 months later, I get this call from this British guy, and he's management for Pere Ubu.
Okay.
And I said she's playing with them, and as it turned out, they were in the middle of tracking an album, and their drummer quit.
Yeah.
Or Scott Krause was their drummer at the time, and he quit in the middle of the session, and they were like looking for someone to finish the record up, and so she's like, "Hey, why don't you call Scott? You know, he's in town, you know." And I was, "Well, can he play?" And she goes, she handed the guy the single. You know, "What do you think?" So I got this call from the guy, and that was how I ended up getting that gig to play that album, and that's what most people know me for, is playing, you know,
Pere Ubu,
playing on that record, which was it was a Ray Gun Suitcase record. It came out in '95. And it was basically a hired gun on that. Okay. And they were doing it at Suma, you know, with Paul Hammond, and I went out there and I tracked that in like a day.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
How many tracks?
I played on like 1, 2, 3, 4, like 7 tracks.
Oh, okay, nice. And you didn't do anything else? You didn't tour with it or nothing?
I did a video with them, and they were going to do some touring in that, and I just I kind of had some other things going on where, you know, from a money standpoint, I really couldn't do it. I couldn't afford to lose my job at the time, you know.
So for anyone that doesn't know, like, Pere Ubu, like, what would you say? How would you describe them?
Oh, it's well, they call themselves the Avant Garage.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, which is, you know, how do you describe that band? Well, they put it this way: they have a theremin.
Yeah, right.
They've had a guy that played violin, viola. You know, so there's those tones. At one point, one of the lineups, they had 2 drummers. It was Chris Cutler and Scott Krause were both drumming, and they were doing this kind of interaction thing that was like mid-'80s.
Yeah.
And Dave Thomas, I mean, he was really a great performer. He's not moving around too well anymore, but that was another weird thing to see. This really large man just running all over the stage.
That's cool.
Yeah, but it's, you know, they're very unique sound. Didn't even know really how they arrived at that till I actually worked with them. Yeah. Dave comes at things from such a weird place, like definitely very unorthodox approach, like almost like a non-musician's approach to things. Right. And that's where they get that quirkiness that is really unusual, but at the same time, he always surrounded himself with really great musicians. There was always, you know, great people in his bands and his lineups. I mean, it's kind of my take on it. It's just like he kind of had this weird way about how he did things, and almost like there were like some things I did that I tracked that I thought were like the best ideas that I had, and it was like he didn't like them. I was like, okay, you know, what do you say, you know? But you know, see, it's like what I thought was going to be whatever, you know, it was like that wasn't even how the song turned out, you know? Like one of the songs is like there was no drum track on it. I tracked the drum track for it. Yeah. It didn't make the record.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And I thought, here I'm thinking in my head, it's like, man, that's going to be the heaviest song on the record, you know? And it's like, it's just this weird thing where the vocals are way over the top, and you like the bass guitar is like in the background, and the theremin's up there way up, and it was just really bizarre, real quirky, and it's what's so funny is that when I was learning the stuff, I was working with Jim Jones, who was the guitarist at the time, and he was talking to me about how they were writing it and playing the demos to me. Like he handed me all these cassette demos that, you know, you just recorded on a boombox when they were writing.
Yeah.
Which to me was like really interesting that, you know, that they had these really definitive like song structures of things they wanted to do. And yeah, just so you know, like that part, that's what we were after here. Really, you know, should be really heavy. And I remember that song and it was just like, I remember working on that like diligently to like get what he had told me like it should be, you know. And then you hear the record and it's like it's not even there. It's like, okay,
so like the whole song's there, just not the drums.
Right. It's like, okay, you know, but you know, it's not that it's bad, it's just it's just
wasn't
definitely unorthodox, not what you would have thought it would have been, you know. But no, it's a great experience. You know, Paul Hammond, you know, we lost him too. He was a fantastic sound engineer, that guy. And that room was great. I mean,
where was that at?
Suma.
Yeah, where
it was
is
out
that?
in Painesville.
Okay.
You have Vrooman Road.
Okay.
It was like right there off the exit.
Okay.
It was like it was Cleveland Recording Company was his father's studio in the 70s.
Oh, okay.
In fact, they had all these gold records in there, like Grand Funk they had recorded and Wild Cherry. I remember some of these bands. They had their, you know.
That's cool.
Yeah, this record went gold. There was some gold records on it. That was the stuff his dad had done.
Yeah.
And then they just moved out there at some point, probably late 70s, early 80s, and had this great room. That was just a vaulted ceiling, and he just got great drum sounds in there.
Sure,
it was a great room. I mean, really. And he knew how to get it. You know, he knew how to work it.
Yeah,
you know?
That's good. Yeah, I've done some recording, and you know, I got this really soundproof small room. And it's almost impossible to get a good drum sound, I think, in there, you know?
Yeah, you need headroom.
Right.
And, you know, that's the big thing there. You need the ceiling to go up.
Yeah, because it just, even using, like, you know, post verbs and stuff like that, it just doesn't.
No, it doesn't cut it.
Yeah, it's not right. Okay, so, well, here, I just want to, I want to take a little break and show you, I got a gift. And this is the blood of my enemies. So they're giving me the blood of their enemies, which I think something involving a monkey has many enemies, I think. I don't know.
Maybe.
I don't know.
The true enemy hasn't presented himself yet. But
so I'm kind of pumped because I got this bottle opener that I've never used because I've bartended and I can open a bottle for real. But I'm going to try this thing. And I don't know, you gonna sample this with me? Have you tried this?
Yeah, I had a taste after we played the other night.
Okay, tell me about this meadery.
Well, Miguel Pine Meadery. A big shout out to Melly and crew down there at Miguel Pine Meadery. And they, for those of you who don't know what mead is, it's honey wine. And actually, it's the
it's not like the oldest fermented beverage in the world, or whatever.
Yes, indeed. In fact, it's the folklore has it that if you are a newlywed, if you drink mead for one full moon, you will bear a son.
Really? All right.
That's where the term honeymoon comes from.
Oh, honey, no kidding.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I'm going to put this away because I don't want to take no chances.
No.
No, I'm gonna use this thing and see how this. We're gonna see.
Let's see what it does.
All right, here we go. It's very slow. I would have had this thing open by now. Oh,
it's coming up.
There it is.
You got it.
There it is.
There it is. Sweet.
Now I don't know how you get it out of there.
Probably with the I don't know, push the other button.
We'll leave it in there for now. All right. Well, I happen to have a couple glasses here. I don't know.
Thank you, sir.
My pleasure. Pour this one. Got my initial on that one.
Is that dogfish head?
That one's a dogfish head one. Yeah.
Nice.
All right, we're gonna try this mead. Well, here we go. Salud, and then we'll see.
Salud.
So, let's see what this is like. Well, I'll tell you what, that's pretty good.
Yeah, they know what they're
the
doing.
Blood of my enemies.
I was tempted to buy the Dragon's Blood one, which has a jalapeno pepper in it.
Oh, nice.
Not a jalapeno, a habanero pepper.
Oh, jeez. I have those.
It's very cinnamon-like. So try to picture the kind of mouthfeel that you have with this, but picture a habanero pepper and cinnamon, and it's like most people that I've handed a glass to, like they're sweating, you know.
Yeah, I don't even want to. I grow hot peppers, but I think everyone. Well, if you think, yeah, I don't know. I used to think I liked hot peppers, and then I do. I like spicy food.
Oh, I love them.
I'm a big fan, but when you grow them and then just one too many times you're trying these peppers and then you just keep killing yourself after a while. You're just like, all right, and I don't know what's going on because I get like 3 or 4 different kinds of peppers, and I don't know exactly what I'm doing, but I'm pretty sure they're cross-pollinating because I grew some green peppers next to the hot peppers, and the green peppers are hot now.
How about that? Wow. Really?
And I always thought it was strange because I was buying I'd get a certain kind of pepper, but then when it grew, the fruit grew and whatever, it was a different pepper. It was almost like a cross between the two. Oh. You know what I mean? So the bees out there, I guess, are doing their job and cross-pollinating, I guess.
Yeah,
I don't
that's
know.
good.
But it just makes like a pepper that's supposed to be like mild, like super fucking hot. And then you're like, oh, this isn't supposed to be that hot. And then you eat it. And then you're just like, fuck this, man. Yeah, so I got some hot sauce. I'm going to have you try. I think I gave like Bezo and Joe's. I might have, might not have. I don't know. I gave a lot of bottles of that stuff away. So I'm harvesting right now, so I should have some. I still have some left over. I just bottle it up and
cool.
V-Rock's hot sauce, and I don't know. It's too hot, man. The only time I can use it is if I'm making like chili. I put like a little drop in there.
Yeah, that's smoking,
it's just
huh?
Too friggin' hot. So I'm gonna have to figure something out this year. I'm gonna have to. That's why I grew way more tomatoes because I'm gonna make more. Cut it with more tomatoes this time.
Oh, I see.
Maybe.
Yeah.
I don't know. Hopefully.
Try to get your proportions a little milder.
Yeah. Because it just. I don't know. Yeah. It's just, anyway, it's too hot. But anyway, where we're okay. So Pere Ubu. Did we finish about the meadery? Like, where is it at? I don't
it's
think
in Beach City, Ohio. Yeah. It's about 6 clicks south of Massillon. Straight down 21.
Okay,
that way.
Okay, navigator. How big is a click?
A mile.
Okay. No, what is that? Like military? Is that what the?
Nah, I don't know. It's an old one. How many clicks?
Yeah. It's like that meme where
yeah, odometers don't click anymore.
What's that?
They don't click anymore. They're all digital, right?
Oh, is that what it is?
Yeah. Well, the old cars always had the ones the spool of the wheel would turn, you know, and when literally if the car was quiet, you know, and you weren't blasting the radio, and your exhaust system was working properly, you'd hear it click.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah.
Okay. See,
you know, people would roll back their odometer, and it's look, this thing's a cream puff. It's only got 30,000 miles on it.
Oh, because you could do that back in the day.
Crawl under the dash because they were physically little wheels with the numbers. You know. So
okay, so that's when somebody says a click. I didn't know that. Hey,
it's good. You got to learn something new every day.
So, how many clicks south of what?
Massillon, wherever that is. Yeah, so it's
nice. Okay, and they have bands play there.
Yeah. It's
is it like every day or weekends?
No, weekends usually.
Yeah.
You know,
and you guys played there often, or?
Yeah, we've played there quite a bit.
Yeah.
It's like I said, it's kind of strange because it's like kind of like in the middle of nowhere, seemingly. but it's a lot of people. It's pretty close to like Canton and New Philly.
Okay.
You know,
yeah,
and there's a lot of bands from down that way, and you know, so people do come out.
Okay, nice. Nice.
You know, but it is a hike. It's not like, yeah, come see us down there. I mean, it's over an hour to drive down there, but
yeah, well, I've noticed a lot of people playing in Youngstown at the West Side Bowl and stuff like that now. So that's like
great club.
Yeah,
I mean, yeah, it's really nice. We just played there. It was my first time playing there.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah, a couple months back, and that upstairs, that's really impressive. Where they cut the lanes out and
I've never been there.
Oh,
so,
it's really cool. It's really unique.
Yeah. Yeah, everyone seems to like, you know, a lot. I know a lot of people have been, you know, I see a lot of the shows with the flyer with the West Side Bowl. And
yeah, most of the most things go down in the basement. You gotta, it's like that venue up is for like 1,000.
Oh, really?
It's that big. Yeah.
Wow.
It's pretty cool.
Nice.
I mean,
I'll have to check it out sometime.
Yeah.
Maybe when you guys play.
Yeah.
All right. So, okay. So where were we? Okay. So we're at Pere Ubu.
Yeah.
And then you did some sessions with them, and then what happened from that? Like
nothing. I shot a video, and the video shoot was kind of weird.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it was and you'd have to see the video to know what I mean, but I'm in it.
Yeah.
I'm in it. I'm just.
What did they have you do? What do you?
I was just playing the kit.
Oh, okay.
I was just. But I was
I didn't
like,
know if you were like frolicking through the.
No, I was way in the back. You know, I was like a little out of focus. You know, I was like, and Dave's face is like right up in the camera, and I'm way in the background, and I'm just kind of like, really, that's what you did with this? Okay.
That sounds like that Danzig video maybe where his face is real close.
Yeah,
you know,
his face was like right up on the camera.
Or like the cover of the Doors or something like that. Whatever. So did the video. Everyone go check out can you see the Pere Ubu video?
It's called Folly of Youth was the song.
Is it on YouTube?
I'm sure.
Yeah,
I'm sure.
All the digital medias and everything you can find Pere Ubu on.
Yeah. That's all been redone. I mean, they've remastered most of that stuff.
Right?
I believe. Yeah.
But they're not. Oh, you said they are still playing.
Well, they were. Last I saw, there was an article in the Guardian. I saw that he was talking about a project that he was doing, but it wasn't Ubu. It was something different, and it was in England. It was with some other guys that were there.
Okay.
But he did indicate that the band was still a thing. It was just he was doing this thing at this point in time. It might have just been like a COVID project or something.
Oh, really?
I'm guessing.
Okay.
And that seemed to be the gist of it, because you certainly weren't going to be. Nobody was working for a couple of years there, band-wise. No one was doing anything. So, yeah. So I'm just guessing that's probably what that was, to try to fill time out or whatever.
Yeah.
Keep doing something that was a little different that you could do. But yeah, I mean, if his health is good, I'm sure they'll be back around.
Yeah.
I think that's been an issue with him, is his health hasn't been so good.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah.
Partier or?
No, not really.
He's
just a big guy.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. But
all right. So then your next musical venture, what was that?
Yeah, my brother kind of dragged me out of the. He's like he when he moved back from college, he bought a place over in Cleveland Heights, and he went to Guitar Center or Sam Ash or something, and he bought a 4-tracker and a small PA, and he's like kept going, hey, you got to come over and lay some drum tracks down for me, and actually, like, why, he's a pretty damn good drummer anyway,
Yeah.
And so he did, and he kind of got me back into tinkering around, and we ended up doing a couple of bands, and one was this thing with Scott Silverman that we called Toy Breaker, and all that came of that was we had done like some demo tapes off of that tracker, and then Scott Silverman moved out to Los Angeles and joined up with this guy Brant Bork, who was in Caius, if you knew that band, you know, which was
Oh,
like the precursor of Queens of the Stone Age.
Here, I have a cousin that dated him.
Brant Bork?
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah, she was living out in L.A. for a while.
Oh,
so,
shit.
Yeah.
Huh.
And I was playing in a band called Obelisk at the time. And
You played in Obelisk?
Yeah.
Yeah. We played with you guys.
Oh, really?
At the Grog Shop once.
Oh, yeah, I remember that show.
Because that was like, Toy Breaker was a precursor to Madman Munt, which...
well, that's when we played with Brant Bjork. I don't know. It might have been a different time. Was Brant Bjork playing that?
We opened for them.
Okay,
We opened that show. In fact,
funny.
Was that the same one with Nick Oliveri?
Yeah.
Yeah, that was the night. Yeah.
That's funny.
That is funny. I didn't even know that.
That's funny, yeah.
Oh.
But no, yeah, and she was like touring around with him at the time, so it was kind of cool to. It's like we played the show and it just happened to. She was with him, so I was like, "Oh, it's my cousin. Look at that."
Yeah, so Scott was touring with them, and they went out to Europe. He ended up meeting some woman there, and he's been there ever since.
Yeah,
in Belgium.
Yeah,
has a kid there, and
Brant.
No, Scott Silverman.
Oh, yeah,
he's from Cleveland.
Okay,
really good guitar player. So, Madman Munt was the same lineup, which was Johnny and I, my brother, and this guy Mark D'Angelo, and then it was Scott Stearns replaced Scott Silverman. We named it that, and we did 2 CDs.
You
like
named
03,
it? I'm sorry, I
05. Madman Munt.
Madman Munt, okay.
And actually, it's a reference to a Coen Brothers movie.
Okay.
Barton Fink. Did you ever see that movie?
I did not, no.
Yeah,
I know of it, though, yeah.
Yeah, I don't want to spoil it. You should see it.
Okay.
But John Turturro plays Barton Fink. He's this character. John Goodman's in it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a fantastic film.
Okay.
It's very suspenseful, and when we came up with the name, at the time we were like thinking, like, what are some of the scariest characters ever? You know, of course, Hannibal Lecter. I was like, somebody named their band the Hannibal Lecters.
Sure.
It's like, I can't use that.
Seems too obvious there, right? Yeah.
And Johnny came up with that, and it was just like, it's really obscure, too. No one's going to really know what the hell it is unless they've seen the movie, and, you don't really find out till the end.
Okay.
So it's one of them things, but definitely a frightening character, So... that was the whole idea behind that, and it was really kind of a metal punk crossover kind of thing we were doing.
So what was the connection with Brant Bjork? Was it just that you played the show, or was it...
that Scott had been playing guitar in his band.
Okay, that's right. Which band, though? Because was it Brant Bjork and Brothers?
And the Brothers, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because he had a few things going on.
But it was that one, and... It was funny because Scott's a way better guitar player than that dude. Not to be nasty or anything, because
Brant?
Brant played drums and
that's what I was gonna say.
And he's a really good drummer,
right?
But Scott's a freaking madman on a guitar.
Yeah.
I mean, he's one of the best guitar players I'd ever seen.
Nice.
I mean, really, and it's like Brant didn't deserve to hold his guitar case for him, by my estimation,
right.
in terms of quality.
Well, what Brant was doing, a novice guitar player could do it. They're just jamming.
But Scott's a really good player.
Yeah.
Like, put it this way, Johnny had written almost all the songs in the Toy Breaker stuff, and he wrote it on guitar.
Yeah.
And had every intention of playing guitar until Scott came over.
Yeah.
And he's just like, dude, you play the guitar. I'm going to learn how to play bass. And he went out and bought a bass guitar. Yeah. And, so he bought this nice Yamaha, but the action on it sucked and everything. Yeah. Scott give me that thing. He took it home and brought it back, and it was just like, sick, the action's perfect, so that's kind of how my brother, that was the next instrument he learned, because he started with piano, learned how to play drums through osmosis, just them being around all the time, and picked up the guitar because there was always a guitar sitting around, and then it's like, I gotta play bass because Scott's Scott's just way better on guitar, man. I can't play guitar. Let him do it, man. Because it's like he'd take these chords, you know, and he'd play like, you know, he'd turn it into like one of those ninths or something, and it's like all of a sudden it's just huge,
right,
full sounds. Like my brother's like, I can't do that. How you doing it? Don't even bother. I was playing bass. So that's kind of how that happened, and then we did that band for a while, and that broke up. My brother moved to Florida at the time, and that was the end of that band.
Oh, okay.
And
what brought him down to Florida?
A job opportunity. Nah. What? Bikini Bottom, you mean?
What, SpongeBob SquarePants? Yeah. No, it's just I'm so done with the winters here, dude.
Oh,
you know, that's my thing. I love Cleveland. I love everything about. Obviously, I'm doing a show all about friggin' subculture in Cleveland, but you know, I just, man, the winters just blow anymore, and they get worse every year. You know.
Well, they're the same. It's just you're getting older, and it sucks.
Actually, they're milder than they used to be.
Yeah,
you know.
That's true.
But it just
they don't feel any better.
No, not at all, man. No. I would much rather be like 90 degrees all the time. I don't even.
I know. I hate those mornings. I get up and I look out. Ah, crap. It means I got to go out there and clear the driveway so she can get out. You know, and it's just like, and she's always like, well, thanks for clearing the driveway, hon. No problem.
Well,
have a good day. It's like, you better have made coffee.
Freezing. You're in the snow belt too, so you got hammered a few times last year.
Yeah, you know? it's we've had some bad ones. Yeah. Over the years, the last couple haven't been too bad.
Right. Well, I said the past 10 to 15 years, overall, they've been kind of mild. But the last couple of years, there's been those huge days, you know? Like, it's like just get dumped on. You know?
Yeah.
And I was fortunate. I had a roommate that bought like this laid-out snowblower, you know? And
it works for me.
Yeah, and well, he moved out and he just hasn't picked it up the last couple of years, you know. So I'm just like, using that.
Oh hell yeah, it makes a big difference.
Oh god, it's so much better than a shovel.
Yeah,
I had a friend visiting from California. He grew up here, you know, but he was been away for so long, and he was here earlier this year when it was the biggest snow we've had in years.
Oh right.
You know, I think it was like in February sometime.
Yep, I remember that one.
Yeah, and he was like, dude, I'll go shovel your driveway. I'm like, are you sure? I'm like, there's a snowblower. He's like, no, man, I haven't seen snow in a while. And he comes back 15 minutes later. He's like, how do you get that snowblower started?
For sure.
So, yeah. But no, so he moved down to Florida, and then that was the end of the band.
Yeah, that was the end of that thing.
And then, so what'd you do? So you just, shop around 30 more bands or what?
No, I really just was just kind of doing stuff at home. I bought a recorder, and I was tinkering around with stuff at home. And
now, do you play guitar or anything like that, or dabble? Nothing.
No, just playing drums.
Okay.
I bought one of them digital kits, so I was just kind of doing things with that.
Nice,
just for fun.
Yeah.
And then when John would come up to visit, we would jam, and that's when that was part of the reason why I got it, you know, because everybody had moved on. Another buddy of ours, he lives in Thailand. He was back here for about a week in the summers. He's from Lakewood originally. His parents still live there. So he was back here for, a week, and then
but what brought him out to Thailand?
Well, he started out in Okinawa, Japan, met what became his wife, Mickey, and and then he lived in Albania, he lived in Saudi Arabia, he lived in Turkey for a while. Now he's in Thailand. He was in Korea for a while too.
Wow.
So he's been all over, and it was funny. I mean, he started out after college. He was teaching math at some high school in Brooklyn, New York. Like 8th graders. Yeah. He's such a character. Another great musician, great player.
Yeah.
And real enthusiastic guy. So when those guys would come in, it was like, let's get together and jam. And a lot of it was like the singer Mark D'Angelo, he died in '08, and it was kind of like that. So we started trying to get together, like whenever we were in town to jam. They had this band called The Weeds from a Perfect Garden. That's what was their thing, and it was like they would just start out. It was like they really had no songs. They would just start jamming, and vocalist. I mean, he was very Mike Pattonish, and he would just do all this stuff off the cuff, just like nuts. And it was just fun, you know.
Right.
And so that was what we were doing, and you know, and then some things just kind of materialized out of that, but nothing really. It was just doing it for a while, and I was, you know, kids were growing up, and it was like, man, you know, it'd be great to play in a band again, you know. So, and I had put this band together with my brother because he moved back, and actually it was before he moved back. I put this band together, and we did a CD. It was called Gone Away. This two friends of mine, and then John came in, and it's like, yeah, we did this for a couple of years, and it's like, let's play some shows, you know, and just the one guy, Mike, he just didn't want to do any shows.
Yeah.
And it's like, you know, what's the point? You know, I mean, I would have been happy to play, you know, 5-6 shows a year. Right. I mean, just a little something.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, I don't know if the guy is agoraphobic or what, but just, and he shouldn't be, because he's a great dude. I love the guy. He's a good friend, a great player, and writes good songs, and you know, and I just wanted to be in a real band again. And, and you know, that's the thing about it, is none of us ever start out as recording artists. It's all stage born. You know, at least it was for me. It was always about the stage for me. Even when I did start writing, you know, when we started writing and recording, it became things that you'd want to do on the stage. You know,
right?
You would think about how you were going to perform them on the stage, and that was what you would do in the studio. Whereas like, think of the Beatles when they were just a studio band. They did all kinds of wacky stuff. Yeah. You know, it was never intended to be presented on a live format. You know, and I got to say, that's the thing about all that tinkering around and doing that I missed the most, is that, you know, it was the thrill of getting up on a stage and being able to, you know, perform again in front of an audience. You know, it's, to me, I think it's just one of the biggest rushes you can have, you know.
It is, you know, and I've lately, you know, I've played around with it here and there with a few guys, and you know, I always say the same thing, you know. Hey, I'm happy to just sit here in a room and just jam out.
Sure.
It'd be nice to play some shows, but I don't need to, you know. It'd be nice to make $1 million too. That'd be great.
Sure.
But I don't anticipate that happening. Right. You know what I mean? Just like to play, you know. So at one point it was like the goal was, let's play out, let's do that, because it is exciting. You know what I mean? Sure. Especially like I remember the first time I played, we opened for Stud Bull's Disco Biscuit, and it was like our first show, and I just remember my leg was shaking so bad. I play guitar and sing, you know, and I was just shaking so bad. I couldn't stop it from shaking, you know. It was like a packed house, you know, and it was just the scariest thing. And it's like, I don't know, I think it just thrive off that nervousness, because it was like for a while there too, it was like I wasn't really having fun smoking weed. It would just make me paranoid, but for some reason I just needed to feel that nervous energy, you know what I mean? And I kind of equate that to being nervous on stage too. But it's a thrill, like you said, it's a thrill, especially if you're prepared. Mm-hmm. You know, like there's really nothing to be scared of if you're prepared.
Sure.
You know?
Yeah.
You know, it's just then you just have the nerves of being in front of people, you know. But it's I don't know, If somebody's never done it, I highly encourage, or just even public speaking is the same kind of thing, you know. But anyway, so he didn't want to play out, so you never played out with that band.
No.
And then you what was it? What did you go to after that? What was after that?
This.
Oh, this? Okay. So you took a little break then, or?
It was still going on.
Yeah.
And it's funny because the other guy in the band, Neil, he was like, "Man, don't you want to play some shows?" We were like talking. I'm like, "Yeah, I want to play so much so that I just joined another band."
Yeah.
And it was just kind of like, "You did?" Yeah. So I hadn't even dropped it on him that
How'd you meet Joe and Bezo?
It was actually off of Craigslist.
Oh, yeah?
Craigslist ad that they had up for quite a while, I guess. I kind of was just one of those things where I was just like, I was complaining, and it's like, man, you know, if you're gonna complain and not do anything about it, you're just,
Yeah. Right.
what are you gonna do about it?
Right.
Well,
Yeah.
all right, I'm looking. All right,
yeah, I'm
that's
not
it.
looking for excuses. I'm looking for
That's it.
solutions, right?
Exactly,
Yeah.
exactly, and that's how that came about. And you know, it's really interesting because at first glance, yeah, here, check out our records, and you know, it's like, and I'm listening to their stuff, and it's wacky stuff. You know, it's not like, it's definitely left of center.
And this is something involving a monkey, yeah.
And which is, interestingly enough, totally up my alley.
Yeah.
You know, because I have really eclectic tastes, and you know, and I like playing all kinds of different styles, and to be able to do that all in like a 3-minute passage is
Sure.
like really, you know, challenging and whatnot too. So yeah, it's just like, yeah, he just went over and, you know, brought a small kit, and we just jammed.
Yeah.
It wasn't like, here, try to play this song, try to
Right.
play that. It was just like, we just jammed.
Sure.
He talked a little bit, and it was just a little bit more on the metal side than what I kind of pictured doing, but I just was like, yeah, this, you know, we started talking, and Bezo says, yeah, hey, we've got this idea for a concept album that we want to do, and if we're going to do it, we got to get going on it now because it's a Halloween theme, and
right.
we got to do this and have it out for Halloween.
Right.
So when he said this, it's like, yeah, so, you know, we have to rehearse quite a bit. We're writing and all that, and it's like, well, I knew that it was a serious thing. You know, it's like, if I jump on this, it's going to happen.
Yeah.
Which is what I want. You don't want to hear a bunch of, you know, willy-nilly, you know, well, we're thinking about doing this and that and the other. It's like, no, we're doing this.
Yeah.
It's like, those are, hey, that's exactly what I do. I want to do an album.
Yeah.
And I want to take it from the vantage point of performance, live performance, and you know, so that's how I jumped on.
Nice.
And and that much is history, and that's what we did. We did which became the Trick or Treat album.
Yeah, I was gonna say, yeah. What was the whole concept of that album?
Just what
I mean,
Halloween,
Joe and Bezo were on here, but
Yeah.
I don't know if we went into that. So
just what Halloween should be, you know, not how do you put this? It seems so benign for the most part.
yeah.
Everything on that record is a horror story.
Oh, right.
You know, everything. You know, the repeat offender thing is just like horrifying, and Sparkles is horrifying.
Yeah.
And, you know, and then just all the metaphor stuff that goes along with it, like Candy Grubber. You know.
Yeah.
And the whole concept of it just being just no good going on. Nothing good is happening here, you know. So that was kind of it, you know. Even the Kitty, which is the song everybody really loved off that record, Kitty is a witch, you know, and you know.
Well, you had a video for that too, yeah. Right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
We wanted to do that animated.
Oh, really?
It was just too damn expensive.
Oh, yeah.
But that was the whole idea.
Yeah.
So we came up with an alternative plan for it, and I think it worked out really pretty well for the most part.
I love everything
The whole thing
you guys
just
do, yeah.
Again, you know, this guy's just, you know, bewitched, you know, and that was the whole thing we wanted to show in the cartoon, that only he saw it, you know. And, we saw the evil, and he couldn't see it because he was bewitched.
Oh,
you know?
okay.
That's kind of the concept behind it, which is, again, there you get into that mental illness, and is it really a spell, or are you just totally gone?
Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's cool. So, all right. So that was your first. That was the first album of something involving a monkey that you played on.
Yeah.
And so, when was that? That was a couple years ago, right?
Yeah, we tracked in 2017.
Okay.
Yeah. So immediately walked into that, and we were. For me, it was that first year was a lot of work. I was learning all the back catalog stuff to play live, and we would rehearse like, a bulk of the stuff we were playing regularly, take a break, and then we would do studio practice for the record, and we would literally work on that stuff.
Yeah.
As we were going to record it. So it was pretty intense for me. I had to really work hard to get everything, to get the band up to.
So, and you said it was like more metal. How was it adapting from being just like a rock and roll guy to go into like a metal kind of thing?
Wasn't too much of a stretch.
Yeah.
I got to say the guys really gave me a lot of latitude as far as me playing things that were more for, more in my style. The only time they ever really were sticklers about anything were Todd Ankrom related songs that they had written with him. Todd's the drummer that passed away.
Sure.
It's 10 years ago now, but they had a lot of, I guess, how would you say it? They wanted those drum parts and the feel from what he was delivering on those parts to be, true to what he was doing. They wanted me to keep that within that.
Okay, but then
within that scope, which I can totally understand. But
yeah,
at the end of the day, it was Nick that tracked those first two records, and the only ones there was the Enos. Fugivino, trying to think of the ones, Carnivorous Flower, that was another one that they had written with them.
Yeah.
And we played that. We pulled that out last year, and we were playing that. And that was another one where it was like, no, you gotta play what he played there.
Yeah.
It was like that was like the only time they ever said like, yeah, you gotta do it like what he did. It's like, for the most part, they let me pretty much play to my own style and approach.
On the newer stuff, you were just given free reign, hey, whatever. Yeah, because I mean, when you tried out for the band, you just jammed with them, so they knew you had something. You know what I mean? So, and that's the thing, you want somebody to play their own style, or otherwise you would get somebody else, I would think, right?
Sure. Yeah, but no, they were always really good about letting me, do my thing with it. And,
but you are aggressive though on the tracks. It's not like you're holding them back at all.
Yeah, no, well, that is a big part of my style is the aggression.
Yeah,
and, also, these guys they're very compositional in their approach, their writing style. Everything is very compositional, and that's new to me.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, most of the time, everything I've ever done, it's like it really started out with jams, and it kind of did here. But when it all got down to it, there's a lot of moving parts and a lot of details that go on in there, and it's all plotted out. It's all nothing just is happenstance.
Yeah,
just it's all very deliberate, and it's a process in the way that they write stuff together, or how they like Joe. The bulk of it will be Joe's song, but there'll be like this part that Bezo's doing.
Sure.
That's and then wherever I come in, you know. But for instance, I would never write a drum fill. It was like years ago. I remember hearing Ringo Starr once say, "I never play the same drum fills twice," because when I come up on it, it's like whatever I'm feeling at that point, it's just going to come out of me. And it was just like, that's really great. And I heard him say that a long time ago, and I'm like, that's what I'm going to do no matter what. It's just like at that moment, whether I'm pissed off or on cloud nine or whatever I'm feeling at that time is what's going to come out in that fill, you know. And in here, it's like in this, there's deliberate things that they have to be because there's other things that are going on with it.
Right.
Yeah, with the music, because it, like I said, it's more compositionally oriented than jam oriented.
Yeah, it's always interesting getting drummers' take on that, because there's some drummers that, very solid drummers I know, that say they have to play the same fill every single time because that's the way the song's written, that's the way it is, and they're basically playing to something else that's in the song that's the same every single time too, you know.
Yeah.
But I've also heard really good drummers say that, you know, they really don't even, you know, it's like you said, every different time is a different drum fill, you know. It depends on your mood that day.
Yeah. Yeah. One of the songs, one time I was jamming with Bezo, Joe wasn't there, and all he said is like, the only thing, I don't care what you play, as long as you just keep that quarter note pulse going on the China, you know. So we're like working, I work this whole it's this little rhythm thing that I'm doing with between my hands and my feet. But that China's just going quarter notes, and it's in 7. So, in fact, I'm probably doing like 7/4 because I guess whatever. I always get confused with polyrhythms and what they actually are, but it's really what's going on.
Right.
And we start playing it, and Joe comes down there and is looking at me, you know, and it's just like we get done. It's like, what the hell was that? And I said, well, Bezo told me that as long as I kept the quarter note pulse going, I could do whatever I want. And he looked at Bezo. He's like, yeah, I said that. And it's funny, but it was like, he's like, because I worked forever with Nick on that part, like trying to get Nick to play, like, but it was probably really a difficult thing for Nick to do, maybe. And like, here, let's do this, you know, whatever. I'm just guessing, but it was just funny. It was the reaction was, "What are you doing?"
Yeah.
But yeah, and it's like, and I've been playing it that way ever since. And it's not that it doesn't fit; it's different on the record, but but it's still a quarter note pulse on the China.
Right.
So
there you go. So, all right. So the Trick or Treat, you were doing that, and then the pandemic happened, and then what were you guys doing?
You know, that killed us. I mean, we were really starting to take off in terms of, we had a tour lined up. Dreadnecks, some friends of ours from Ole in New York. We put out their record. Joe put out their CD, which was, well, it was a 5-song EP.
Yeah.
Fishing with Dynamite. That was brand new. You know, box of them over there. He's shoving it all up on the stream services, and bam, shut down. These guys, brand new record. We had a tour lined up with them. Done. Everything was just shut down.
Wow.
There was a bunch of stuff that was going to happen that year. A bunch of shows. We were opening for Oakley Dokley, which we ended up doing 2 years later. Finally, I mean, they rebooked it. There was, again, Psycho Stick, and you know, a whole bunch of things. You know, DFD was coming through, and it was just like there was all this really great stuff that we had lined up, and it was all dead.
Well, it was like, you know, I remember it was just like a big tease, because I remember that year, you know, when everything shut down, like in March or whatever. But that summer was supposed to be so freaking cool. With like, it just seemed like there were so many great tours happening.
Yeah, the Stones were touring. 9 Inch Nails. And
Rage was coming back.
All kinds of. You're right. It was going to be a big year.
Yeah,
and it was just a big letdown.
Right. It's like the powers that be were just like, oh, this is going to be you know, we used to make fun, you know, like when we were kids, and it's like, oh, don't have too much fun, the cops will come get us, man.
Right.
You know, like, oh, no, it was going to be too much fun. They shut it down, you know.
Shut it down. Go home.
So, well, that gave you time to work on a new album then,
Well,
right?
that's exactly what started. I mean, we were kind of already working on a lot of that stuff.
Yeah.
And but then there was nothing else to do. So we started working on the pre-production that summer, and it was like late August or something. I went in and I pre-pro tracked, you know, some drum parts for everything. But you know, the process of the canceled record was really another different process.
Yeah.
We click mapped that whole thing, that whole album, and you'd never be able to tell, because we did it in a way where we made the click sync to us rather than us sync to the click.
What do you mean?
We were writing a lot of the songs wherever we wanted the tempo changed or whatever. Maybe something slow down a little bit, maybe something speed up a little bit. Well, we worked all that into our tempo maps.
Yeah.
And so before we even started tracking anything, we fooled around for about, I'd say, 5 or 6 weeks with just making tempo maps for what we were going to do with it. And that was a big part of the process.
Yeah.
Which is an interesting thing going way back to the Vivians and how we wrote. It was like, I remember Michelle and I having a conversation. I was like, I had just seen the Cleveland Orchestra play Rite of Spring, Igor Stravinsky. I don't know if you're familiar with this piece. If
I heard it, maybe.
It is an unbelievable piece of music, and I had just seen it, and we were talking about it, and I just remember watching the conductor, and at the time, everything's drum machines. We were talking about that a little bit before, and it's like, why? Who said music has to be so?
Right.
You know, it's like classical music doesn't do that.
Yeah.
That's what the conductor's doing. He's you know, and it's like, and did you ever play something that it's like you play it at this tempo and it sounds like this, and then maybe you pick it up 10, 15 BPM and it's just totally different.
No, yeah, for sure.
That was like the whole idea with, you know, and I always thought about playing like that. It's like, if you drag that tempo a little bit, it just kind of gives you this like surreal feel about it, or you push it a little bit and it just gives it this gritty edge, you know, just subtleties.
Sure.
So the same thing applied here. It was like how I played in the Vivians. We did a lot of that, but here we were literally.
What do you mean you did a lot of it? Like a lot of
push pull with tempo,
but you were still to a metronome?
No.
Oh, to a beat? No, it wasn't. Oh,
it was all coming out of me.
Gotcha.
You know, but like I said, we weren't doing things that way. None of those recordings were click tracks. Yeah. You would have had for all the stuff we were doing then. You would have had a tempo map it, right? Because it's all odd. You can't just. You have to. You're playing. Yeah. You're going from 13/8 to 4/4 to 7/8. Yeah. You know, it's like, how do you do that? Yeah. I don't know. Well, Bezo knows, and it's all MIDI. It was all done with MIDI. You were making these MIDI stems with the tempos, and that was the process that we utilized for the album. And like he kept saying, I go, whatever. I could always make it fit. And he'd say, no, I don't want you to conform to the click. I want the click to conform to you. Yeah. Right.
Like, yeah. So you play it, and then he just find out what that is, and then you program that, right?
Yeah. One of the songs, for instance, it's like we knew we wanted to pick the tempo up. We had figured out from jam, and then we wanted to pick it up at like 10 BPM. Mm-hmm. And we had this passage, and how we fooled around with it for trial and error several times to figure out how we should do it. You know, and actually we arrived at it, had a climax at like 2 bars before the change and level off, where it just sounded too awkward. Right. You know? And just little things like that you may never even notice. Right. But it's there, and that was the way we went about it, though. We definitely used the click maps.
It's like you don't notice it, but you feel it. You know?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. And that's the effect you're going for.
Right.
It's, you know.
No, and Joe, with all his projects and everything he does and how talented that guy is, you know, it seems like he always adds that kind of element to whatever project or music he's doing. Is just this, it's a feel thing, you know. You kind of know when it's a something involving a monkey thing for sure.
Yeah.
And the live, I mean, you guys can tell that you practice and you put in the work and everything, you know, because the live shows are just as solid as the recordings, you know what I mean, if not better.
Wow, thanks for saying. I mean, it's I mean, that's definitely the goal for us, is to be like a Zappa band, like a Frank Zappa band, where you could hit record at any time and it's going to be like there.
I remember I was explaining you guys to somebody, and like, what do they sound like? I'm like, Frank Zappa is the closest thing I could think of. Right?
Sort of. Sometimes, you know. Sometimes it's it might be a
bungle or something.
Bungle
maybe.
might be a moment of Primus. Could be some crazy, you know, grindcore for a minute.
Yeah.
Or whatever. Yeah, it's like, we go all over the map with stuff, but you know, part of the importance for me with being able to do that is to play with authenticity. You know, if you're gonna go to a swing part, it should swing. If you're gonna you know, play a calypso beat, you know, it should be that. It should be what those technically are,
right?
You know, and that's not a rock and roll backbeat version of it, you know.
Right.
So yeah, it's good to have, you know, all those tools in the bag. You know, and you need them in this group for sure.
All right, I think you know, one last thing that I wanted to get into was the actual release of this canceled. I just want to kind of show you, because you guys did this thing where you put it out, you know, digitally. You get like a little thumb drive.
Yep.
And you get the little thumb drive here. I don't know where the camera's at. And you can, you know, erase that thing and put your secret documents on there if you want, or you can listen to the album. It's available like on Spotify and all that, or
it's gonna be.
It's gonna be not yet.
Yeah,
not
we're
yet.
going to release it all. We have the. We're going to play the whole album in its entirety on October 7th at the Foundry.
Oh, nice.
And we're going to coincide the Spotify and CD Baby, all the digital platforms. It'll all be available at that point.
Okay, nice.
But we decided to do it this way, which is a little different. You see all the artwork. We had a different artist do a rendering for each of the 10 main pieces on the album.
I'm not going to show it all because you got to buy this, but here's like an example.
Yeah, there's you know, and that's
it's not funny. Yeah,
and Neil Patterson from Downtown Brown did that one, and it's
a lyric book with a different artist for every song, right?
For every song, there's a different rendering, and then also on the thumb drive, there's MP3s.
Yeah.
And then there's your the wave files, the studio wave files are also on there, and there's PDF poster size renderings of each one of those pieces of art on there. So you could download that on your computer. You send it to, you know, any printer and
FedEx
get the 11 by 17, you know, poster size of each one of those.
Oh, that's
it's also
cool,
on the thumb drive.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's a very ambitious project in that we got 10 different artists to contribute to that.
Yeah.
And what we basically did was, when we did the pre-production of each of the songs, we gave them a version, like, hey, you know, which one you want to do, and they listen to whatever and be like, and that's what they would hear the song, so they knew what it was about and all that, and then create their rendering of however they wanted to do it. And everyone had a different style and approach, but we were just amazed at some of the stuff that was coming in.
So there had to have been some coordination there. Did they all pick different songs? Or?
Yeah, well, yeah, that was the thing with Joe, and it was kind of funny, you know, because what's the term? Herding cats.
Oh yeah.
You're dealing with all these artists.
Artists and musicians. I'll tell you what, they're not the
the process of herding cats.
right.
Yeah. So try to keep it as simple and as uniform as you possibly can, and but it worked out great. Everyone did a fantastic job. But as these pieces were coming in, we were just like, wow, that's incredible.
Yeah.
And it's just totally different, and it's a throwback to the days of when I was growing up, because your multimedia experience when I was a kid was you'd go to Peaches and you'd buy a record, and hopefully when you pulled the shrink wrap off of it, it was a centerfold, and there'd be stuff in there, and song lyrics, and you drop the needle on the record, and you turn the lights off, kick on the lava lamp, turn on the black light, light some incense, and sit there in the dark and check it out, and that's the same kind of thing, except tenfold, because there's a lot of content in there. There's so much to see. And
so is it just on this thumb drive, is it just the photos that are in here, or do you have extra?
No, they're actually poster sized PDFs
of these pictures,
of those pictures.
Okay, but there's nothing different.
No.
There's nothing extra or anything like that.
No, just that we did MP3s, and then the WAV files are also in there. So
so both, just in case. Yeah.
Well, if you wanted if like you had a really killer stereo and you wanted to blast the shit out of it, blast the waves, because they're going to be a
lot
full,
better. Yeah.
But the MP3s came out really, really great, and it's all. It's self-recorded, self-produced. Bezo engineered the whole thing.
Yeah.
He did a fantastic job. He really did.
Yeah, he knows what he's doing.
Oh yeah. And then we took it out to Noah at Mercenary and put it on. He bought that legendary console that all those death metal bands recorded on.
Yeah,
in Florida.
he was on here and he was talking about that. Yeah.
So we took it out there, and Bezo booted it up there, and tweak mix. It was all mixed pretty much, but he finished mixing it there and mastered it on that board. And when that came back, I was just like, man, it was just like, it just boosted it. Like, it just was
totally
so
makes a difference.
full.
Yeah, and Noah knows what he's doing too.
Sure he does. In fact, he's a great engineer, man. I have nothing but good things to say about him, and worked with him on the Trick or Treat thing. And and I wasn't around for the Waffle, but he's a great engineer. He really has a great ear, and and his room's good. And he was like really excited. He's like, man, he goes, for once I get to use my room mics. And he's recording me.
Oh yeah,
because we were going for a live drum sound, not like everyone that comes in there. It's it's all real tight, close miking.
So the Trick or Treat
triggers
was recorded with Noah.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I didn't know. Yeah. Nice.
Yeah, no, he's great.
Yeah, so that's right, because usually it's heavier bands and they want that triggered sound and everything. Yeah.
That or the industrial stuff he does. He does a lot of industrial stuff there too. Same thing. Yeah. He was like, I get to use the room mics, which are fantastic. I mean, I thought the drum sound was great.
Yeah.
I mean, so he's got. Again, it just, I don't even know what he does that's different, but it's solid. He's really good.
I think it's just all about ear, you know what I mean? Well, having the know-how, obviously, but you really gotta hear it, I've dabbled with recording things, and it's like I'll record the tracks, or I'll just, but it's like I can't. It's like you lose it. Like if you play it, record it, and then try to mix it, it's lost.
It is the hardest thing to do, and it's funny because what you're saying, what I learned, the bottom line, what I learned from recording engineering, my stuff that I did, is that audio production is so hard to do. And it's even harder when you're tracking it too, because you're too close to it.
Right.
You want an outside ear.
Exactly.
And you do. You get lost in it. You ever be in a mixing room for hours, and it's like at some point you're just like, I can't tell one thing from the other. And you got to walk away.
Right.
And then come back the next day with fresh ears.
Yep.
I mean, you do get fatigued.
Oh, for sure.
You know.
Yeah, and then you come back and you're like, what the hell? And then you switch it all up, and then you get lost again. Then you go,
yeah.
And then I don't know. I just get
It's
lost,
hard.
and I'm like, I don't know what I'm doing at this point anymore.
Yeah.
But you know, somebody like Noah, though, he knows what he's doing. You know, I don't know if, I mean, does he record his own stuff? Did he record this Ellipsis stuff? Probably, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
He probably talked about it on the show. My memory is. The Solipsis is playing a show.
Yeah.
Coming up here soon.
Right.
That's the first time in a
they were
while.
talking about it. Yeah.
That's pretty cool. So, I don't know. Well, hey, I'll tell you what. Unless there's something else you have to say, I think I got everything I want.
All right.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, just,
I mean, we got the album, you know.
No, just a shout out to all of you out there that have, you know, been supportive of us. Thank you. You know, we appreciate it. And, yeah. Come on out and see us on the 7th. And
That's the 7th we're at?
It's going to be at the Foundry, October 7th.
Lakewood?
Yep.
Nice. October
7th. Friday, October 7th.
Man, it's still quite a ways away.
Yeah. Yeah.
I feel so lucky that I have
Yeah.
that. And what meadery was this again?
Miguel Pine Meadery.
It's good. It's it tastes like mead with blood orange.
Blood of my enemies.
No, it's good. It's sweet. Yeah, blood of my enemies, man. But Scott, no, thanks a lot, dude. Thanks for
thanks
stopping
so much
by.
for having me on. I really appreciate it.
Well, I you know what? I had to because I already had Joe and Bezo, so I'm not having those guys back before I have you.
They're like, yeah, you got to do the cast. I'm like, man, who the hell wants to listen to a drummer anyway? You know.
Well, I do. You know, no, and you did, definitely you got some history there. You know what I mean? It's and like I said, something involving a monkey is. It's a unique thing. Definitely people need to check out. I mean, you guys are always just like high energy, exciting. Like there's people that I knew that I've taken, you know, that I've seen you that I was with that aren't even into that kind of music, but they can tell that there's something really good going on, you know?
Yeah, cool.
So it's cool. But no, dude, again, thanks for stopping by.
Yeah,
and,
my pleasure, man.
And you're welcome back whenever.
Okay.
And maybe we'll do something fun. Bezo's been talking about making some blue waffles or something.
Oh, yeah.
Maybe we can do like a little cooking thing. And because I like to do little cooking episodes once in a while.
Yeah.
So.
I like to cook.
Yeah. Well, hey, you got it. What do you cook?
What do you want?
I know. You know, because everyone asks me, oh, well, what do you like to cook? I'm like, well, I don't know. Everyone likes my ribs and my chicken paprikash, but I'll make anything, you know, lasagna, whatever. I'll do anything. But I don't know if you've seen any of this. I think I have like 3 or 4 things that, you know, Procop makes some pierogies. I made some paprikash. Made a drink. Philip Madewell made his walleye po' boy.
Nice.
Yeah, so, yeah, whatever, man. We'll get together, do something.
Sounds great. Right. Thanks so much, Vince. Appreciate it, man.
My pleasure. All right. Sub CLE, we're out.